Here we go. Recording it on this computer. And yep. All righty. So good morning, almost afternoon on a snowy day. You do realize that because so many of us are working from home now and remotely, that we don't get snow days anymore, do we? No, it's like they closed the office at your place. They closed our offices, and I thought, okay, it's a normal day for me. So welcome to Auto Emails in Matrix. Now, for those of you who have video, if you could turn your video on, even for a minute, that would be cool. I'd like to see you. I'm going to ask a question or two, and you can wave. And I know WillNet, you'll just have to answer, although there is in here, if you can find it, a place where you can click to raise your hand, and a cute little hand will show up by you.
Okay.
But what I want to know from as many of you as possible is how many of you are new licensees? Anybody a new licensee? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Anybody here never used the auto email function in MLS before?
I use it all the time, but I don't know if I'm using it properly. Like I don't. It just shoots a lot of emails out, and I don't want to be worrisome.
Great. Well, you can ask those that's what this is for. You can ask those questions. Last question, how many of you, while you're not a new licensee, are new to the business, maybe a year or so or less? Anybody?
Yes, I got my license back in, I got my license back in January.
So that
passed my class in November.
That makes WillNet and Kenny the veterans of the group. All righty, well, all we're going to do today is walk through how to use the auto email. And I'll be honest with you, setting an auto email up is pretty easy. If you know where the button is, it walks you through it, and it's not hard to do. The issue is, oh, you have another person coming in, Carrie's here, so now that's 5 of us. Awesome. Going to be a good class. The issue is using it so that it actually does something. The auto email function is outside of actually doing searches for buyers or searches for comps for customers. Probably the single most important tool for you to use in the MLS, and maybe the single most powerful tool in the Matrix MLS system. Now, here's the problem with auto emails. I'm old. I remember the old days. I moved to Virginia so that I could learn to use the phrase back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And back in the day, we real estate agents controlled access to all the real estate listing information, didn't we? If you wanted information, you had to go find a real estate agent because we had all the information, and they don't have to do that anymore. And so the problem with auto emails is your clients can do stuff. Have you gotten the calls yet? They don't call and say, I'm looking for a house. They say, I want to go look at this house. Or they give you a list of MLS numbers and say, I want to go look at these houses. So the whole point of making auto email work is not just setting it up, but doing something for them that they cannot do for themselves with today's technology. So really, I want to start at what I think is the most important part of the whole auto email system, and that is creating searches. I want to spend a little time at the beginning just talking about how to create good quality searches that actually find homes that your customer might be interested in looking at and perhaps purchasing. Now, I do have a question for you. So if you can talk to me on mute and give me an answer. What is the ideal number of listings to send to a potential customer? I can wait.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. You want to send a lot of them. Okay, that's one answer. Anybody got a different answer?
I'd say the opposite.
All right, give me a number.
3 or 4.
What's that? Say it louder.
3 or 4.
3 or 4. Well, it was a trick question. The ideal number of listings to send somebody obviously is 1, because that's your goal. Your customer wants to find a house if they're a legitimate customer. The one thing that they don't want to do is pick one. And so your job is no longer just to send them houses. They can do that themselves. And Kenny, they already can find unlimited listings. Your job is to find homes for them that actually meet their wants and their abilities, and then help them to do the one thing they don't want to do, which is narrow the list down to 1. Why don't they want to pick one?
Because they're afraid they may pick the wrong thing or leave something important out or something like that.
Right. So here's the rule of thumb. The more listings you send them, the longer it's going to take them to pick one. And if you send them tons of listings, all you're doing is duplicating pretty much what they can do themselves on Realtor.com, on Zillow, on your own company website, lots of places like that. So my goal to start the class is we're going to go into search. And I'm going to do a brief rundown on how to do searches, because I'm going to assume at least 1 or 2 of you are just getting started, and I'm going to give you some basics and then show you a few extra things you can do to create more effective searches so that your search results looks better than their search results. That's going to be your goal. So y'all can see my MLS screen here, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to go up here to search, and we're going to go to single family full. I will quickly point out to you, there are 2 kinds of searches, quick and full. Just trust me on this. Always use full, never use quick. 2 reasons. There's almost no difference between the 2. And if you use the same search screen all the time, your mind very quickly will learn where everything is. Now, who can tell me why this box is yellow?
Because you have to use one or the other.
That's right, it's required. So I can do single family, or I can do condo, or if I hold the control key down, I can do both. Control lets you select more than one thing or unselect off of any list in any Windows product. It's not an MLS thing, it's a Windows thing. And we're working with buyers today, so I'm going to do active, and I can also do coming soon. And that's what we're going to look at. And then the next thing I will do is pick my area. Now, here's a little tip you may never have noticed. I do like to put the county in. So I'm going to put in Chesterfield, because you guys are there. Now, I don't know Chesterfield. I live up here in Mechanicsville, and I'm from New Jersey. But there's all the Chesterfield areas, which I may or may not have memorized at this point in my career. But the other thing I like that happens when I do this is now these are all the Chesterfield schools. And since people often ask about or even ask for specific schools, this makes accessing the schools for the area I'm searching a lot more convenient. So even though I don't have to, I like putting in the county a lot of the time in my searches. And one of you, I'll let one of you pick which one of these areas are we going to search in today. Where is your customer looking?
64.
64. Now, I want you to notice something. And this is what the problem with the market is. And you want to notice this stuff because you can talk to your customer about it as well as your seller. In Chesterfield County right now, there are only 318 single-family homes available across the whole county. If you have been in the business any length of time, you know that that's probably a quarter or a third of what the market really wants and what would be normal for this time of the year in most other markets. I'm getting more people. I'm wondering if some of the folks who did not have internet have gotten it. We'll see. But just so that you know, the folks that are coming in, I am recording this class and I'm going to try to make it available to Janice for some people in your company whose internet went down this morning because this is Virginia and it snowed. So just to let you know that we are recording this. So what could you do with this piece of information if you're showing homes to Mrs. Smith? Well, Mrs. Smith, there aren't many homes out here. We usually see 3 or 4 times this many listings in this county this time of the year. So if we find you a house, you might not want to wait too long to pull the trigger because it could be gone. I'll never forget the time when I moved here, we went to look at a house and we walked in the front door because I worked for the MLS. And by the time we hit the deck, it was under contract. So that stuff happens.
Yes.
So you put in their price range. Hopefully you had them pre-qualified or better yet, pre-approved by your mortgage person and they gave you a reasonable price range. I'm just going to do 200, 300. And so now we only have 54 matches. It's dropping quickly. And Mrs. Smith wants 3 to 4 bedrooms. So I'll do 3-4. She wants at least a bath and a half. And if you're new, watch this carefully. Notice at no time do my fingers ever leave my wrists. You type 2.1 plus. And that will give you 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, et cetera, et cetera. If you had typed 0.5, which many new people do, you would be looking for houses that had at least 2 full baths and at least 5 half baths, which would be great when baseball season starts again. We're all coming to your house. There's no waiting. I never bother to use the full bath or half bath fields. I just use the total bath fields, and that's how and why. And so to cover the basics, I have just showed you everything you know to do 80% of the searches for customers that you're ever going to do in the MLS. First of all, you always want to watch this number down here. If I'm going to go show Mrs. Smith 4 or 5 houses, I probably want 12 to 15 matches down here to pick the best ones. So as you approach whatever magic number you like to use, you stop adding criteria and start actually looking at the properties. Because what happens to this number, the more criteria you add? Who can tell me?
It
gets smaller.
It's smaller. That is right. It goes down. And how many times have you gotten the point where you didn't have enough properties anymore, especially in this market? Understand the house your customer actually wants doesn't exist, and there will be compromises. That's just the way things work. Let me show you a couple of other things here. First of all, they said they wanted a colonial. So if I click on colonial, now I only have 3 matches. But you know how real estate agents are. They put their listings into the MLS themselves, don't they? Oh, yeah. And sometimes they use different words. Sometimes they just get lazy. Most colonials I know, for example, are two-story. So if I hold the control key down and highlight that, now I go to 14 matches. And so sometimes you have to think about how agents would have put stuff in here in order to find the houses that you're looking for. At some point, you are just going to look at the houses and pick the ones that strike their fancy. But that's not why I went here. This is a test because I know some of you have been in my classes for this before. By the way, the person labeled Keller Williams, what is your name?
It's Shelley.
Shelley, I thought that was you, Shelley. It just somehow looked a little different than the last time I saw you.
I
So
have a snow day.
there you go. All righty. Here's why I did this, though. I told my person about this, Mrs. Smith, and she said, well, you know what? I think I'd like you to just send me all of them for now, even the ones that when it was up to like 18. So if I click on two-story here, it gets rid of colonial. How do I get rid of two-story off this list?
Look at it again.
Nope, it didn't work. All right, it is a trick question. And I told you a minute ago, and I have had new agents tell me this is worth the entire class. What new agents do at this point, if they want to go back, is they start the search over. If I hold the control key down, it also unselects. Always remember the control key selects and unselects. And it's really the MLS's fault. Like you have garage here, yes. Garage, no. And if you want to go back, they left you a white space. They left no white space over here. I don't know why, but for the last 6 years, it's made me the hero of hundreds of agents. Okay? So those are the basics. And what I want you to realize is I just showed you everything that you need to know to do the vast majority of your searches. What do I mean by that? You can fill in blanks, like I typed in Chesterfield and selected off a list here. You can type in numbers and they all work the same. Plus, minus, dash. So if I wanted to do finished square feet, for example, I could do 1200 dash 1800, for example. And now I got 6, or I could have done 1500 plus. All number fields work the same way. All word fields work the same way, and all list fields work exactly the same way. All you have to do is know what the information on that list is talking about. Am I right? So those are the basic ways that you do all sorts of searches, but you can do a lot more. Now, they ruined one of the things that I always used to like to talk about because they stopped calling it a master bedroom. That's no longer considered acceptable. And they now call it a primary bedroom. But that's okay. I had a master bedroom joke I used to use, and I just cannot use it anymore. But here's my question for you. What is it about Virginians that they all have to sleep on the first floor on the ground level? You see, in New Jersey, where I'm from, I never had anybody ever ask me for a first floor, what we used to call master bedroom. Then when I came here to Virginia, I found that everybody wants a first floor master bedroom. Only thing I can figure is we are a little closer to the equator here. The earth rotates a little faster as a result, and people get vertigo and they don't want to sleep more than 2 feet off the ground. That's the best I could come up with. Have you ever had somebody ask you for a first floor master bedroom?
Yes. Many times.
Did you know there's more than one way to look for one? Of course you didn't. That's the point I'm making. The first way I can do it is I can go here to this little checkbox that they added, and I can click on primary bedroom, first floor. Now I only have one match. I'll uncheck it, and now I'm back to 18. But let's see what else I can do. I'm going to go down here below everything, and in additional fields, I can add any field that's in an MLS listing. There's 300 or so fields in an MLS listing, and almost all of them can be used in a search. So let's see how that works. First of all, under interior, I actually have 3 choices. I have first floor primary bedroom, and now I have one match. Now, I usually leave higher numbers here, but if I click on first floor bedroom, I still have one match. If I click on first floor bedroom with a full bath, I still have one match. They may not all be the same property. I don't know. Let's find out. I'll hold the control key down and click all of them. And they are all the same property. Could they have been different properties? Could somebody have selected this one? Why would they do that? Well, what is the definition? And this actually works a little better if we use the term master bedroom, because we're not used to primary bedroom yet, but let's assume we are. What is the definition of a primary or master bedroom? Well, I've talked to brokers and agents all over Virginia. Most people define it as the main bedroom that has its own bath. All right. Let me ask you a slightly different question, though. First floor bedroom with a full bath, first floor primary bedroom. If the primary or master bedroom, most people think of it as having its own bath. What's the difference between those two? I didn't think you knew. Yeah, I've talked to tons of agents. The difference is with a master bedroom suite or a primary bedroom suite, and I'm going to have to use both terms for a while just so that people understand what we're talking about until we all get used to it. You get to the bathroom only by walking through the bedroom. Whereas this one has a door out into the hallway as well. Picky, picky, picky. But you need to ask your customer, do you need a master bedroom or a primary bedroom on the first floor, or do you just need a bedroom on the first floor so that grandma doesn't have to climb the stairs when she goes to bed at night? So there's more than one way. There's still another additional way or two to do this. How many of your customers know that ranches only have one floor?
All of them, I hope.
You would hope. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to even buy a house if they don't know that much. Do you agree with me? I agree with me. So if your customer says what they're looking for, and the first thing they say is, well, I want a first floor master bedroom, because they're not used to primary bedroom yet either. Can you make the assumption they don't want a ranch, or they would have said so? I think so. I think that's a reasonable assumption. So how about this? Let's see, what do I have in my search? I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to get rid of this. And by the way, this one I have to use the control key to unselect as well. Now I'm back to 18 matches. And I don't have any styles in here, do I? I wish I had more numbers down there, but we have so few listings now. It's getting tougher and tougher to do that. And I'm still only in all of Chesterfield. I'm not even limited just to Area 64. Wow. This is getting tougher and tougher.
What happens if you limit yourself to, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
64.
None. What are my criteria? 2 to 300. I'm just looking to see if there's an easy way to get some more properties, or if I accidentally clicked on something when I was poking and prodding, but I don't see anything. And if I remember correctly, where is it? No, not there. Well, there's a place I can actually click and it'll tell me what my criteria is, but I've forgotten. But here's a thought. Here's another way to do it. I am going to go here to Style, and I'm going to select Ranch, and I'm going to say Not. And now I have 17 matches. By the way, we just learned something interesting. What do you want to bet the one that I lost is the one that had the first floor master bedroom? Because it was a ranch.
Right.
So do you see what I'm saying? You need to think in greater detail than your customer. You need to think about how real estate agents put their listings into the MLS. And let's find out if I'm
Yes.
right about
I
that.
was just thinking about that because not everyone puts the same things in there.
Yeah. And so you want to try different combinations of searches to find properties that actually may meet what your customer's looking for, but somebody either didn't put it in the MLS the way you would have, or didn't use the right term, or didn't use the same term other people use. I'm trying to do it too in my camera there. You see what I'm saying? Those are the kinds of things you need to do. You need to do better searches than your client can do. And that only comes with practice and experience. Let me show you a couple of more search tips. I'm going to go up here and get rid of ranch, put it back on and. We got all 18.
John, I think I missed something. What's the or not? I don't think I've ever used that.
Or and not. Oh yeah, I'll explain that.
Okay.
If I pick two things off of list and I leave it on and, they both have to be true of the property. If I pick or, either one can be true of the property. Think of it like a sentence. I
Mhm.
could get a house. Let me pick something here. I could do a house that is, let's go to Style. I could do a house that is colonial, leave it on or 2-story,
Okay.
or I could do contemporary or colonial. If I did and, it would have to be both. And if I did not, it would have to be everything but those.
I see.
Very useful tool, actually, once you get used to it. All righty. Let me give you a couple of more tips. Remarks. Anybody ever needed to find a house with an in-law suite? No. I get asked that all the time from people. How do I find an in-law suite? Well, there's no place in the MLS. It's not on any of the lists. And by the way, one of the most useful tools for doing these searches and for learning this stuff is, you know, that 11-page listing input form that's in Instanet that the MLS puts out that you should always fill out every time you put a listing into the MLS. Just nod, even if you're lying. It's okay. I want you to get a hold of one of those. And I want you to print it out and keep it handy. It has all the lists on it. And if you get asked for something by one of your customers, the easiest way to search for it is to see if it's on one of the lists. And now you know what fields you can add down here at the bottom. And the nice thing about these fields that you add, they stay down here in case you want to use them again. So you can just leave them here in case you need them. So we're going to go to remarks, because the only place I know of where people mention an in-law suite is in the remarks. All right. So Carrie.
Yes.
I'm going to type in-law into the remarks box there. And we have 18 matches right now, which is not a lot, but how many do you think I might find out of 18 that might have an in-law suite mentioned in the remarks? What do you think I'm going to get when I type it into that box?
Probably not, 0.
Well, you're actually probably right. But here's the thing. If I just type in law, I get 0 because there are no listings where the only word in the remarks, the whole remarks, is the word in-law. On the other hand, if I go here and I type asterisk in-law, asterisk, in this case, I'm still not going to get any because we don't have a lot of listings. I'll tell you what, let me go up here and I am going to change my search a little bit. I'm going to take out Chesterfield. And let's see. Now, why do I still have 0 matches, don't I?
John, if you raise the price search,
Oh, I know, yeah, but I wanted a lot more. So I've got 91 listings across the whole MLS that basically meet this requirement. That's actually kind of insane, but that's the case right now because I took out all areas. So here we go. If I type in asterisk in-law asterisk, do I still have any matches? No. So I'm going to type comma asterisk in space law asterisk, and now I have 1 because that's how somebody spelled it. If you put an asterisk before and after what you want to search for in the remarks, it will look for it anywhere in the remarks. That's what the asterisk does. And you can search for more than one thing by using commas and the asterisks. So I looked for the first spelling. I looked for the second spelling. I put a comma and I put the second word with asterisks before and after. Now I'm going to try one more, asterisk in dash law, asterisk. And I still only have 1. But you get the idea. A good way to find things that you need to find that might only be mentioned in the remarks or the agent comments is to use that field down there. And you can add it to your search. You go up here to add remove and you search for it. Like, for example, I could go here and search for, what do we have to search for? Disability equipped. And I could click on this and add it to the right, and then that field would be down there at the bottom. So if you're working with somebody who needs disability adaptions already in the house, you can add that as a field down here, and you can use it.
Hey, John, if I were trying to not pull up any that were as is, would that I'd be able to use that? I get so many sometimes that are as is, and you don't know it till you get to the remarks, agent remarks.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. You're the first person to ask me this question. And the first time I've answered it, and I usually don't give this particular tip because it gets used so rarely. Because as is not on any of the lists, is it?
No.
If it was on a list, you could select it and then say not. There is a symbol for not in text fields. Very few agents know about it because they don't use it very often. Let's see, what's the best way to do it? First of all, I could just find the ones that do as is, and there are 2 ways they could do that.
Sell to a lot of first-time home buyers who can't buy as is. So.
Right. As is. So there's a couple ways they could type it, and we have 5 matches. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get the asterisk and I hit the wrong key. We have 9 matches where that is mentioned in the remarks. But if I put, let me see if this works. I've never done this question before, but it should work. Yeah. If I put an exclamation point in front of each one of those,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that amazing? Then it's eliminating the 5 that used those terms in the remarks. The
All right.
exclamation point is
Huh.
a not.
Oh, okay, that's.
And I will tell you, there are probably about 10 of us in the membership that know that little trick. Not because we're smarter, but because very few people try to search the remarks to not find something.
Mhm.
Huh.
Thank you. That will be valuable for me.
There you go. Now understand how this search works. And then I'm going to show you one more thing that I think is one of the coolest features in the MLS that literally almost nobody uses. And then we'll move on to turning it into a auto email. So this is literal. Computers are stupid. They only do exactly what you ask them to do. So one of the things that we used to search for back in the day, and we all have different terms for it, is lease with option to buy. And I think you have a different phrase than that in Virginia. But you know what that is, right? So
Mhm.
I could go here and I could search for star, lease, star, and find any listings that contain that word, right? And I got 2. Do you want to bet? Who wants to bet me that if we look at those 2 listings, and I'm not going to take the time, it's not the word lease, it's the word please? You know, things like, please bring all offers.
Huh.
Please don't let the cat out, because the computer doesn't know the difference. It's just looking for those letters. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So you want to remember when you search the remarks, it's going to give you exactly what you're looking for. And if it's just part of a word, you're going to get that. And so you have to still look at them, but it's a very useful search tool. So adding fields down here gives you more things to search by. Learning to use the text fields to search for things that aren't on the lists. Those are all tools that you can use to create better searches. Just don't try to be overly detailed. All right. And so now we're back to our 91 matches. But I'm going to show you one other tool. And it's right here on the main screen. And nobody ever uses this tool. And yet it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. I found out about it. It wasn't here originally, and I contacted MLS and asked them about it, and told MLS, and they added it here. I had an agent in my company here who had a customer that needed 4 bedrooms, but could really only afford 3. Doesn't happen very often in our business, does it? And so he had showed them every one of the lower priced 4-bedroom houses, and that none of them were just going to work. So he needed to find a house that could become a 4-bedroom house at a 3-bedroom price.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he tried is he went to remarks like we just did and looked for anything in the remarks that said, you know,
Could be used.
office could be a 4th bedroom.
Yeah.
Didn't really help. So what we did, I found out this was in here. And so we'll go back up here now and we'll say we want 3-bedroom houses. That's all we want. We don't care how many baths at this point. We just want 3-bedroom houses that can be made into a 4th bedroom house? How many of you have ever put a listing into the MLS?
I have.
Who said
I
it?
have.
Will Nat? Okay.
Yes.
I have,
All right. And Kenny, and you remember when you get to part with the rooms and you put the room in with its information and maybe its dimensions and the level it's on, and then you
Yes.
hit the more button and it gives you another room and you put that in, you just keep going through to all the rooms that are in a house. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
This lets you search that. Watch. I'm going to go here to room types. These are all the room types you can select. So if the house had an office or a study, could that be a 4th bedroom?
yes.
Yes.
So I'll select it. And now have 3-bedroom houses. I have 11 of them that also have an office. What else do we have? I'll click on more. How about additional room 1?
Uh-huh.
Wow, now I've got 50 that have 3 bedrooms plus an additional room. I don't know what it could be used for, but could it be used for a bedroom? Oh, wait, there's more. There's additional room 2, 3, and 4. Could you find one that has a family room and maybe the family room could be converted to a bedroom if they had to? Or the Florida room, maybe it's heated and it could be turned into a bedroom. There's lots of rooms on here that might be another bedroom. How cool is that? You could find 3-bedroom houses for somebody who can only afford 2 bedrooms. But wait, there's even more than that. Let me show you what else it can be used for. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to change this to laundry room. The lady that I spoke to said she has to have a laundry room. So now I've got 96 matches of homes that have 3 bedrooms, and there's also a laundry room somewhere in the house. But watch this. She said, I only want the laundry room on the 2nd floor so that it's near the bedrooms so that I don't have to walk so far. So I can go here and say, sure, we'll pick level 2, and I will only show you the 9 houses with a 2nd floor laundry room. Or she says, you know what? My sister had a laundry room on the 2nd floor, and I still remember when the hose in the washing machine broke, and I never want one on the 1st floor. Then I can just, on the 2nd floor, so I can just go here and select level 2 and say, ma'am, we will not look at any houses with a laundry room on the 2nd floor. Or they might say they have to have a Florida room, or they have to have a dining room. It must be in there. So you can search for these additional rooms and you can even specify what level that they are on.
And on this location, you can also search for the primary bedroom being on level 1, right?
You could, and you might find you get a different number than you got when you used the others because somebody might have put it in differently.
Mhm.
And so you want to know all these possibilities so that when you run out, you've got one more way you can search to maybe find one you missed. So those are some more advanced search tips that you can use to learn how to create better searches than your customers can create. Sound good? I'm not going to do any more because we've used up a bunch of time here. But that, to my mind, is the most important and valuable part of creating auto emails. Anybody can set up the auto email. Creating searches that actually find listings that your customer might buy, that's the trick. Any last quick questions here? If not, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this into an auto email for you. All right, one last question for you then. How many of you have created auto emails with yourself as your own customer?
I don't say I've done it correctly, but I've done it.
All right, everybody's got to do that. You should never send stuff to your customer that you've never seen before. They might ask you questions about it. So your homework when we're done is to go in here and create some searches that are fake for you, make up a buyer, and then put your email address in as if you were your own customer. Look at the email that you get, play with it, see how it would feel to someone who's never looked at this email before, so that when they call you and ask you questions about how it works, you don't have to say, I don't know, I've never seen one of those before. It will not instill confidence. Am I right? Yeah. You got to do that. All right. So here's the way auto emails work. You always create the search first, and the cool stuff is under results. So we're doing single family. I'm going to go back here and put area. Let's see if we have anything in area 64. We only have one match, so I'm going to get rid of that. How about around where I live? 2 matches. So I'm going to do comma 36. Whoops. And I got 5 matches, and we'll go with that. So I'm going to go with this search, and I'm going to click on results. And there's the 5 listings. Now, first of all, who can tell me why all the buttons down here are not lit up? You have to select at least one property. And now you can do all the things that these buttons offer you. And you have 4 sets of buttons. To create an auto email, though, you don't have to check any of the properties. You can go to save. You have 3 choices. This last one, don't even worry about it. Nobody uses it. You can save this search, so that if you want to just go back to it and run it manually once in a while, you can do that. If you've never figured out where they go when you save them, if you go here to My Matrix and go to Save Searches, it's where all your saved searches live. And so you can just create a search to watch your own subdivision and go here and click on it once in a while to see what's going on. We are going to create a new auto email. We do not have to select any properties because we're not saving these properties. We are saving the search we created, whatever happens to match it. So we're going to create an auto email, and what it's going to do, it's not only going to include the properties it already found today, but any new properties that come into the MLS that match it, it's going to include those as well. It's going to send out a new notification that something new arrived that matches this search. Now, Kenny, you knew the answer to this, so I'm going to give you credit for it. The yellow things are required. So obviously you have to have a contact, because if you're going to email this to somebody, it's got to know who it's going to. And every time you create an auto email or create a CMA in the CMA wizard, your contact's information gets saved in the address book in Matrix. And that is also located under My Matrix right here. And this contains all of the contacts you've ever worked with in MLS. If you have worked with them, you can just drop this list down, and they would be on the list and you can pick them. And as you can see, I only work with famous, fictional, or dead people because I only do training. If they're not on your list, you create a new contact, and you must have a first name and a last name and an email address because, well, that's just how this works. So, Carrie, who's your favorite movie star?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't have one.
You don't have one. How about a singer or a celebrity? Or what's your best friend's name?
Debbie.
Debbie. Does she have a last name, or shall I just call her Smith?
Spencer.
Spencer. Debbie Spencer. All righty. And we'll just give her an email address. What I suggest you do when I told you to practice is use your work email, go in here and set it up. That's probably the one you have in MLS already, and send it to yourself at one of your other emails, your personal email or something, so that it comes into two places and you really get a feel for what your customer has to do. I'll click on save. And then you want to give it a subject. And the subject should tell you who it's for and what it's for. So I'm going to type in D. Spencer's new house. The other thing I recommend is try to not always make one big search for Debbie. If Debbie says, for example, I'd like to find homes in Chesterfield, I'd also like to look in Colonial Heights. They're close together. Don't necessarily create one search that does both. Think about creating two searches, one for Chesterfield and one for Colonial Heights. Here's why. Your goal, no matter what you do in this, is to get Debbie to narrow the list down to one property, right? And you're not trying to sell her. That's the thing she doesn't want to do. And so you're helping her. Well, if you have two searches like that, and you notice Debbie's only looking at the houses in Chesterfield, then you can say, well, we'll turn off the search for Colonial Heights for now. We can always turn it back on, but let's start narrowing our list a little bit. And it gives you the opportunity to do narrowing. So I'm in favor of a few multiple searches rather than one big search. It's another way to help work with your client. So this will be her house in Hanover, because that's what I put in there. All righty. Any questions so far? Always put in a subject line, because your auto emails are indexed by the subject line when you go to look at them. All your auto emails live under my matrix here under auto email. And so when you look at your list, it's going to show you the subject line. And so you want a unique subject line for every single one. Fair deal? All right, now you have two emails, the welcome email and the recurring email. If you remember that I told you that good searches are the most important part of creating an auto email, this part of the class is the most important part of managing the ones that go to your customer and managing your customer. You have two. The welcome email is the one that goes out when you first create the email. Never change this email, only add to it, because this email gives Debbie instruction on how to use the portal when she gets there. Not a lot, but enough to get her started. So instead, you can just click here and type in a little personal note. Welcome to the portal. Your new home is on this list. Your job is to find it. I mean, let's face it. Sometimes you just got to tell them what to do, you know? So you can personalize it, leave all of this information down here. And here's a tip for you. One of the reasons I want you to create your own auto email with yourself is I want you to read this message. You should never send an email to your customer that you don't already know exactly what it says. Am I right? Just not, because I am right. This recurring email is a different story. There's actually literally no message here. Now, let's see. Letitia, can you hear me? Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Who else am I? Oh, there you are. Letitia, I'm going to pick on you for a moment. This person, you don't know who D. Spencer is, called you. They were looking at things on the internet, and they happened to come across your name. Do you honestly believe they were the only real estate agent that they saw when they were doing that? No. And do you honestly believe you're the only real estate agent they called? No. They called 3 agents. They called Melinda and Wilnette as well as you, and you just don't know that. And so all 3 of you set up an auto email for D. Spencer using exactly the same information, maybe came up with exactly the same properties. And since you didn't personalize the first email and never personalized this email, she is receiving the exact same information with the exact same emails from 3 of you. Why should she pick you? And of course, I know it's because you're better than the other 3, but that's okay. You get the idea. So this email is one of the most useful tools in here. You want to change this message every 2 to 3 weeks. Now, right now, I know things are going quickly. Trust me, they won't always be this way. You will work for people, with people for a few weeks and sometimes even a few months. That's just the way real estate is. So you want to update this message. You want to, because this is the message that goes out every time something new matches this search. If it always says the same thing, she knows it's coming from a computer. Here's your goal. Write this down if you can. You want her to know that you know who she is. Think about that. Let Shanice back in here. You want her to know that you know who she is. It's not that she needs to know who you are. If you do your job, she will know who you are. So you go here and you type something in here for February, like Happy Valentine's Day. And in March, you change it to Spring is coming. I'll bet your house looks great right now with the grass and the flowers. We just have to find it, don't we? You see what I'm saying? And you go in, you had a conversation with her last week. So in April, you go in here and say, how did Fluffy do when she went to the vet? And you hope Fluffy survived the encounter. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, you update this message every couple weeks or maybe once a month so that she knows that you know who she is. You pick something that you know about her and you comment on it. And by the way, that's how social media works as well. So that's one of the most important things you can do is personalize this message. And then go back and change it periodically. That will tie her into you instead of the other 2 people who are just sending her machine-generated messages. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So you should have your signature in here already. If you don't, you're violating DPOR regulations. You are now required to have 5 elements in your email, electronic and email communications with your client. If you've never done it, you got a piece of paper. Here are the 5 elements. I'll give them to you very, very quickly. They are your name, your firm name, and your contact information. Those everybody gets right. We never seem to forget those. The 2 that everybody misses, the city and state where your license of the office where your license is affiliated. So no matter where I'm working today, this always has to say Mechanicsville for me. And yours always has to say Midlothian, Virginia. And the last one that is required is licensed in the state of or licensed in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The rest of this is extra, but you must have those 5 elements in your signature. You can click here and edit your signature. It will let you add these things and even use fonts and colors. And it will even let you add a picture if you want to. Next thing is it shows you what your search setup was. I always ignore this because I don't want to know where I made a mistake at this point, but you can look at it. You have two more settings. First one is this box here. You see this one that says reverse prospecting? We're going to briefly talk about reverse prospecting as the last thing in the class. Always leave this box checked if it's a real customer. What it will do is it will let the listing agents know that you might have a customer for their listing. It won't tell the agents who it is, but they can call you and say, my listing matches a search you set up for one of your customers. Your customer name is 33107. You can find that when you look up your auto emails. And you can talk to them about maybe what the house may need or how you can set up a showing appointment or anything they might do to the house that would make it more of what your customer's looking for. Those are great conversations. If you're creating a fake auto email for practice, or I have one that watches my subdivision. I like to know when somebody lists a house in my area and has an open house. They sometimes have sandwiches, you know, I'll walk over. I uncheck that box because I don't want anybody calling me thinking I have a real customer for that property. But I leave it checked whenever it's a real search for a real customer. Make sense?
Mhm.
And then you have concierge mode. This is very interesting. You're only going to use it once in a while, but you'll love it when you need it. What it does is instead of sending the listings to my customer, it sends them to me first. And I can look at the list and pick the ones that I want to go forward to my customer. You know, you have a very, very picky customer who gets upset every time something shows up on the list and it's not what they wanted. So you can vet the houses before they go to your customer. You get a message that says you have houses to approve, you have listings to approve. You know where I would have used this? I literally once had a customer who insisted on buying a yellow house. Had to be yellow. We found two identical houses. One was yellow and no garage. One was white, identical, but it had a garage. Same price. They bought the one that was yellow rather than buy the one that was white with the garage and make it yellow. I mean, that's how intent they were on buying a yellow house. You can't search for yellow houses, can you? So I could have
Thank
used
you. I have a customer.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I could
Thank
have
you.
set up concierge mode, and when they came up on the list, looked at the picture to see what color it was, right?
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. That's the kind of thing you can use it for. So that's what it does. You only need it for special things, but it's there. Lastly, you pick how often they're going to get messages. And you can do every day. You can do twice a day. You can do as soon as possible. But if it's a search with a lot of properties, if you're doing, like you said, Kenny, sending them a lot of properties, they may start getting too many emails and might get annoyed. So you might want to slow it down to every day or every other day or something like that, or even turn this into a pretty pattern. They get some in the morning, some in the afternoon, whatever you want. So you get to control how often emails go out. I will tell you, if you set it up as ASP, it will hit their inbox usually within about 30 minutes because it takes about 30 minutes for MLS to process completely a new listing once it's entered. Then you have monthly. Here's a bonus for you. I thought of a great way to use monthly. How many of you have ever sold a house and you had the buyer side?
I have.
Okay, Kenny, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go in here to auto email. I want you first to have created a search either for their kind of house or better yet, just for their general neighborhood, their whole subdivision or a mile or two radius. All right, include maybe actives and solds, okay?
Uh-huh.
And set up an auto email, click monthly, and in the title here, type, here is your monthly neighborhood real estate report. You have just created a free drip email campaign that's going to arrive in their inbox. They won't object because they love knowing what's going on in their neighborhood, and it doesn't cost you a penny. How cool is that?
Uh-huh.
That's a great use for monthly. All right. So once you've got it all set up, you click on save and you're done. Before I click on save, any questions about the setup? I know I gave you a couple ideas you didn't think of for yourself. So hopefully your auto emails will be better after this. So I'll click on save. But I do have to give you a few more important pieces of information. If I go back up here to my matrix and go to auto email, there are my auto emails. Wow, and I haven't been in here for a while. Some of my auto emails have expired. Well, that's good. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Usually I have 3 colors here. Right now I have the red one, which means it's disabled. And what happened is I ignored the email I got that said it was about to run out. Here's the way they work. First of all, they don't get any additional properties until they click on the link that's in that first email they get. Right now, Dee Spencer is getting an email, and it's that first one, that welcome screen. She will not get any more emails until she goes in and clicks on the email in that first link. That actually turns it on. She has 80 days to click on that email. All right. If I drop this list down by clicking on the little arrow, here's all the things that I can do with this email. I'm only going to mention a couple of them to you. Under settings, this is where I would go to, for example, to change her from ASAP to daily if I wanted. This is where I would go to change the email every month or so. Remember we talked about that? It takes me back to that screen and I can go there and update that email so it's not always the same. My suggestion is once you've got 10 of these in here, you pick a day every month and set aside a scheduled hour as your I'm updating my auto emails hour, and just make it part of your routine permanently. You can change the criteria here. You can look at the results like it was a search here. You can go and look at their portal and see what they've been doing with the listings here. And of course, if Miss Spencer doesn't buy from Melinda, she can go here and delete the heck out of them. It'll only give you 3 seconds of satisfaction, but you know, it's better than nothing, right? So these are all the tools that you can use for working with her. Now, unfortunately, one of the ones I like to show a lot expired. So I'm going to turn one of these back on. Let's see, I'm going to turn this one back on. And the way I do that is go to settings, go down here to enabled, click on save. Oh, I know what happened. My email broke and it turned my auto emails off. So now they'll start working again. So I've changed it from disabled to enabled, and I'll save on it. And now it'll work again. And if you don't mind, real quick, I'm going to go back there again. Enabled. Save. Okay. All right, I'll have to work on that. That's because the company I get my email from accidentally canceled my email account briefly. So I got something else to fix. I didn't even realize I did. But you get the idea. I can go in here and make those changes. You see this? This is a white circle, a green circle with a white center. This means that she has not yet clicked on that first email. When she does, this will change to a green circle with a white checkbox. And that way I will know that she clicked on it. This also lets you know the last time they looked at the listings, what the schedule is, and you can see all of your customer stuff by going to my auto email. I mean, my matrix auto emails, and it will show you the list here. And this is where you manage them. Any questions about this part? It's fairly self-explanatory, but you want to go here once a week. You want to go to their portal and take a look at what it looks like. There's the listings that we just sent. You want to learn how to look at it in the different views that are possible. The reason is your customer is going to call and say, I played with it. I can't get it back the way I wanted it. Can you help me? And you need to find out from them what they want it to look like and tell them, well, over here's where the single line is. And over here is where the small is. And I can click here to look at them with the map. And I can click here to look at them in a checkerboard pattern. And you want to get familiar with that. But there's something even more important here. Customer single line. Do you see these here? Your customer can go here and they can look at these listings and they can mark this one as a favorite. And they can go here and mark this one as a has possibilities. And they can go here and mark this one as rejected. And then you can go here and see what they've been doing with the listings that you have been sending them. And it will help you refine what they're looking for. You say, this one is a favorite. Do you want to go look at it this weekend? This one has possibilities. What is it missing? I would make it a favorite. This one you rejected, and I'm surprised because I thought you were going to like that one. What is it that you really didn't like about it? You see what I'm saying? You don't want to just look at it. You want to talk to them about their responses. And there's one other thing that they can do that you need to know about. Here we are on that first screen when we came in. If I click on favorites, I can see what they favorited. They can see it because you both see the same portal. I can go here to my searches. This is interesting. This shows the search that I created, and she can go here and look at the results from that search. If you created more than one search, they would be listed here, and she could click on all of the searches. Also, there's help up here. Let me see if this still does it. Yes. It's details about how to use the portal for your customer. Can I make a suggestion to you, Kenny?
Yeah.
Next time you're on the portal, click here and read it yourself and see what it's telling your customer to do.
You got it.
It's a good thing to do. And I'm looking for one other thing here. Oh yeah, this is that first page. Did anybody ever notice this button is here? This is not for you. That's for your client. They can go in here once you do this and they can search the MLS themselves. Now don't panic. They can only search limited number of criteria, just like they do on realtor.com or Zillow.com. So it's not that they're going to not need you anymore, because you're going to have done so much a better job of finding homes for them. They're going to realize they don't need to do it themselves. But my suggestion is that you tell them to stop going to realtor.com, stop going to Zillow, stop going to the firm website. Just go here if you want to search on your own, because you'll know what they're doing. You'll be able to see the properties they find. Tell them the internet is a dangerous place. I want to keep you safe, okay? And then you can see what they've been finding and talk about those properties as well. And I'll give you a little tip. I can't show it to you because I don't have a search that my fake customer created. But if I go back here to the single line, you see the dates received here? If Ms. Spencer goes here and creates a search and any properties on it match, they will show up on this list as well. Only they will not have a date because she found them herself. So let's say, Carrie, that your customer clicks on this and starts doing searches, and all of a sudden there are 12 properties here that are nothing like the ones you found for her. Time for a phone call. I thought you were looking for these kinds of properties, but this looks like you're looking for something else. Have you changed what you want? If you go here and you found 5 properties or 4 properties for her, and she found 22 and they're kind of similar, you might want to go back and look at how you set your search up. You see what I'm saying? So there's tons of information here if you understand how it works. But you've got to practice it from both sides in order to get the hang of it. Team up with somebody in your office and play customer and real estate agent and get familiar with it. I can tell you about it and show it to you, but you really only learn it by doing it. 2 last things and we'll be done. You see this little square here? How many of you Facebook?
I do.
Of course, all of us do. It's illegal not to anymore, I know. Ever done Facebook Messenger?
Yes.
This is like Facebook Messenger. I can click here or they can click here and start a conversation through the portal with me on each one of these properties. You can go here and leave notes for each other. How cool is that? So that's a look at the portal as a whole. Notice I've even got some messages that I'm supposed to check. Any questions about overall look of the portal itself? All right, then I'm going to show you one more thing related to auto emails, and that's how to use reverse prospecting. Now, the problem I have with it is I don't list or sell properties, so I don't have any listings, so I can't actually do it. So I'm going to close the portal, and I am going to go back to the home screen here, and I'm going to become my boss, because I can. Let's see, there's Mike Chenault. I click on that, and suddenly I want to go shark fishing all day. I just don't know where the urge comes from, you know, but he loves doing that, so. And I'm going to go down here, and Mike has 16 listings. And these are nice listings. We're going to take a look at, what do we look at? Let's look at this Colmar listing. So if I go over here and check it off, and you can only do reverse prospecting 1 listing at a time. So you can't do it if I click 2 listings because You can only look at reverse prospecting for this listing. So Mike can go here and it will tell him who has an auto email in the system that matches his listings. Now, don't get excited. These are all people who didn't take my class and think that you just do real broad searches that sends your customer everything. So let's make believe this is your listing, Melinda. What do we have here? I have a whole list of real estate agents that say they have a auto email that matches their listing. Look, 3 of them said it has possibilities. If any had said favorites, and let me just go back and pick a different listing, see if we can find one that says favorites. All right. No favorites on that one. I'll try one more time and then we'll just start looking at it. All right, so I'll look at this one, see if anybody favorited it. Nobody favored us. I'm gonna have to go back to the first one. Usually we get a lot of favorites, but we looked at Colmar here and it had possibles. So imagine instead of 3 possibles, there's 2 more here and they have hearts. They were favorites. Those people get a phone call. If they favorited it or made it has possibles, I'm taking the time it takes to phone each agent. And I'm going to call Mark and say, Mark, your customer number 76078 marked my listing a favorite. When are you going to show it? Can I pick you and your customer up? Can I bring the coffee and the contracts? You see what I'm saying? On the other hand, Jason, your customer said this property has possibilities. So what is it about this property that we can change that'll make them make it a favorite instead? I know you don't bother to do it now, but I did real estate back in the day when nobody was shopping for properties, and I'd have gone over on Saturday and painted the half bath on the 2nd floor a different color myself if we get somebody to look at it. You see what I'm saying? So these people get calls. You know what? Everybody else, unless I know them real well or something, I might call them. Otherwise, I want to email them. Here's the problem. All you can do is click on each one of these email addresses one at a time and send them an email. Because MLS doesn't let you email more than 1 agent at a time, right? But doesn't this look a lot like an Excel spreadsheet? Everybody say, yes, it does. So watch this. I am going to open up Excel. There it is. I'm going to create a new blank workbook, and I'll move that out of the way for now. In fact, I'll minimize it. I'll bring it back in just a moment. And I'm going to take this list, and as much of it as you want, I'm just going to grab part of it for today and hold my button down and just highlight a bunch of it, or maybe all of it. All right. And now I'm going to right click and click on copy. Got that so far? Now I'll go back and open up my blank Excel sheet and I'll right click on the first cell and I will click on paste. And there it is. There are all the email addresses in an Excel spreadsheet, all in a row. So now I can just hold my mouse down and highlight all of those email addresses, however many they are, right click and copy just the email addresses. And just for your benefit, I'll go over here, open up a new email, and always use BCC to do this. Everybody write that down. BCC, right click, paste, subject, my new listing, message, you have a customer. You ever wonder how people send you those emails? That's how they do it. And you can do it too. And I could send a message with my flyer attached or something to everybody who has an auto email set up in the MLS that has and it matches my listing. When do you do this? You do it when you first put the listing in. You go here and find everybody who already has as a search, because people don't check their auto emails like they're supposed to. And you send them all an email saying you have an auto email in the system that matches my listing. If it's for a real customer and I can help you show it, please let me know. When else do you do it? These are even more important. You get a price change. Agents don't always notice there was a price change. So you do this with that list and you type a message that says, we just reduced this property by $20,000. Maybe your customer will be more interested in it now. When else do you do this? You had a contract, it fell through, it's back on the market. You do this, you type a message that says, my buyer couldn't qualify for the mortgage after all. Wasn't the seller's fault. It's back on the market. If you wish your client had gotten this the first time, it's available now. Jump on it before it sells again. You see what I'm saying? That's what you do with this. And you do it regularly. That's auto emails. Anything I didn't cover that you needed or anything else you would like to know about with auto emails? All right, then, hold on a second so I can say goodbye, and I'm going to go up here and we are going to stop.